Okay, welcome back then. It is early February 1876. We left off in late January, having left off to resolve to pass turn with the moves planned. We'd already withdrawn back to Moldavia from Bukovina, but we were kind of shifting away from the centre, from Sofia to Doria or Plevna, the fortress at Plevna, really to try and get a bit of concentration for a counter-strike against Bucharest. The Austrians are besieging that. They have breached Bucharest, so there's a chance they might assault it. They have fanned out and sent some forces back to Drobeta. And we have a scripted event. There's been a rebellion in Bulgaria. So a rebellion broke out in Bulgaria. Atrocities committed against the civilian population by irregular Turkish forces. Answer to mass murders of Muslims in all the country and triggered a major crisis in international relations. Now, the worry for this is not necessarily the magnitude of the rebellion. It looks fairly small. This looks to be a division-sized force at the moment. It's besieging Sofia, which is it's like well fortified. It's a well kind of stocked kind of redoubt. The worry is that it sprawls and that it kind of becomes a complicated sort of geopolitical situation involving the Russians and sort of third parties. So we do want to kind of stamp this out pretty quickly. But we want to do it in such a way that it doesn't sort of interfere too much with the sort of tempo of operations against the Austrians. As a side note, shorter videos really are where it's at. This whole time I've been doing like 45-hour-long videos, and they seem to take a really long time to process. It looks like there's a kind of sweet spot in terms of the length of videos, how they're processed. Like a half-hour video takes about 20 minutes to half hour to process, whereas an hour-long video takes anything from an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is maybe counterintuitive, maybe not, I don't know. But so shorter, more frequent videos are definitely where it's at. Maybe I occasionally do a long video, like when I've got lots of time and where I don't need to use my PC again for the sort of next hour or so following doing the video. But so we've got the Bulgarian rebellion to sort of deal with. We did conduct an offensive through Belgrade, looking to move into Drobeta. That didn't happen. So the 8th Army under Abdi Pasha went up to Banat, which we already held. Don't quite know why that's the case. I mean, he pretty much brushes aside Austrian forces. Pretty significant Austrian forces, actually. But he inflicts heavy casualties, nearly 50,000 casualties, takes less than 10,000 himself. It's still pretty difficult weather. So there are still some kind of limits in terms of manoeuvre, but we have got good concentration on the right, and because of the Bulgaria situation, I'm now inclined to try and make a move against Austria at Bucharest. We're going to attack from Moldavia. These troops are supplied from Constanta. I don't know to what extent any kind of zone of control is exercised from Bucharest in terms of interfering with supplies. It doesn't look like it at the moment, but we'll sort of see what happens. So, to that end, we're going to prepare the 3rd and 5th armies then for an offensive southward into Bucharest. We're going to set to sort of sustained attack because that is a really, really large force in Bucharest. So I'm a little bit anxious about how this might go. They will receive support south of the river. We're going to hold the 1st and 6th armies at Plevna as a kind of an anchor, a hinge force, a base of fire, if you like, but also because we want to look to maybe, if the situation in Bulgaria develops and sprawls, we want these forces in place to react to that. Let's say in the centre, there's not much to do. I had already instantly moved the 8th Army south. It's a 9-day march. I mean, Abdi Pasha is not going to be there in time to provide any kind of support for Bucharest, but it's worth getting him back to Drobeta anyway, so that we can hold a position north of the Danube. I think for the meantime, at Novi Pazar, we're going to hold our position. Or do we prepare for a move? See, my thinking is if we conduct some kind of spoiling operations on the left, it might compel the Austrians again, just get them to respond to our actions as opposed to the other way around. It's an 11-day march. It's not what we're going to see, Ray. I think we're going to set up and fix for a move against with only one of the commands. So I'll tell you what we're going to do first of all. We've got to give Dervish Ibrahim Pasha command of the Imperial Guard Corps. And yeah, that's good to go. So we'll set him to a defensive posture. Move to Montenegro. And then from there we'll look to move up to Kataro. We won't do it straight away because we wanted to kind of 11 days, he gets 4 days to basically rest, reorganise his forces and billeting and that sort of thing. We're going to hold the 4th and Novi Pazar for the time being, just to stop any Austrian forces flooding down from either Serbia or through kind of Sarajevo. And I think what we're going to do about, even though this stack looks like it's not, it is in Sofia. So I think what we're going to do is to set up an ad hoc formation out of the strategic reserve. We have got Hussein Avenue that we move back to Adrianople. And he's not activated, of course, sod law. So we'll designate that as so sort of Sofia relief force. 21 days. 2 days. And I think we'll move up. We've still got some rail points left. We'll move up a division from Greece to Petric, I think. Just south of Sofia. Oh, damn, we can't. We don't have enough rail points. I wonder if... I mean, this is kind of slightly overkill anyway. If we deduct a core, put that back into this pool... That should take a little bit of a... So we've got the rail points up here. That should release some rail points. Yeah, there we go. This is really just if this gets out of hand and it sort of looks like it's going to sprawl. Right, so we've got an offensive then prepared against the Austrians at Bucharest to try and lift the siege of Bucharest. And it's not great weather. This wasn't really, you know, the idea was to kind of wait for spring. But there's a little bit of a sense of urgency because of what's happening to the rear. I think that's it. Let's check our diplomatic cables. All good. The Austrian combat power is recovering. It was 94 last turn. We want to try and keep that pressure on, keep inflicting casualties. Good round economically, by the way. We are starting to see, we are working through coal, however, a slightly faster rate than I had imagined. So 1900, 1972 private capital from domestic market sales, 1969. Nice. From exports, 768. Imports, that's decent, happy with that. And let's actually have a look at a detailed read through because I want to see if we're maybe putting in bids for coal that isn't being met. So you're requested by coal in Chile. Okay, right, so that's one area that is if we offer a premium. I mean, we have basically at disposal capital, so we should if we really need something, we can offer a premium, you know. Let's have a look at coal elsewhere. So importing 120, 130, 140 odd units was still just breaking even, and that's if all of that is met, you know. It's a cattle farm in Zvornik. Closed. Look at that. So what we might start looking at are things where we've got, like, for example, loads of cereals, or a huge amount of cereals. The market's flooded with cereals as well, and we're one of the biggest exporters in terms of at least what we have on the market. 39, probably it looks like a lot more is sold through Scandinavia, maybe the Baltics, than us, but the market's flooded, basically, with cereals. So we kind of... Current stock is 203. We'll start looking at how the stock climbs, and if it continuously climbs, we'll start closing down our cereal farms, because they do use coal now, they use machine parts and this sort of thing. I mean, tobacco is good, we're all selling tobacco, but there's some things... like, you know, nitrates mines, for example. How many nitrates mines have we got? This is where I spent an hour looking for nitrates. Is that nitrates? Yeah, it is. So we've got 3 nitrates mines, all of which use coal. And I bet if we look at nitrates, 33 units a turn. Plus 5 crafts production. We don't appear to have any usage at all. We don't seem to be using any nitrates. Commerce and transactions. Constructions and various. Yeah, no expenses. So then let's start kind of fine-tuning the economy a little bit. By closing our nitrates mines. The idea is to try and reduce the demand of coal, also mechanical parts. Yeah, I mean, we don't have any. We're not using any. It's purely an export commodity, and we've got a huge stockpile. I mean, our economy is large enough that we're not actually hemorrhaging nitrates from like the stockpile being too large. Often, when they get too large, obviously you start losing sort of commodities or goods or raw materials, minerals, and so on. You can lose them through just corruption and wastages, and that's not happening. But we're not producing any rubber. I don't know. God knows where that's coming from. I mean, you do get random kind of events every turn where sort of capitalists get their hands on certain kinds of commodities and stuff. What else? There's nothing else that's really obvious that's kind of screaming out to me that we need to kind of close production. Well, let's have a look at cotton and wool, I suppose. We're sitting on nearly 1,000 units of that. Craftsman production, national market sales 10. So craftsman production alone accounts for national market sales. Plus, 27, I said structure expenses 27, 33. We can work through the stockpile. I think a couple of videos ago I was talking about doing this anyway. Start combing through the economy a little bit. Okay, let's we'll only close the ones that use coal. Okay, good stuff. That'll do for now. But yeah, the economy's in good shape. Let's quickly look at, I think it's 1,500, isn't it? It's slightly less. That's because we've closed some sites down. Let's look at some development opportunities in China. It's about $3,000. That's incredible. So investments in China really are changing the kind of economic landscape of China. I mean, like, the coal pits we're building are large modern coal pits. They're still not very productive in the greater scheme of things, because there's no railroads or anything there. And I think we build railroads in China, can we? That'd be interesting if we could. But there's just huge opportunities to develop the Chinese economy. And some of them, my hunch is that the areas to the south of kind of like Manchuria, that the areas in the hinterland, what will happen is they will go over to kind of, what seems to be happening is they go over to kind of Chinese ownership. But the areas like the Korean Peninsula, Manchuria, Formosa, or became Taiwan, these areas seem to be continue to be controlled by us, which is interesting. So we've got a coal pit, for example, in Taipei, which we control, which is, good stuff. So that might be worth, might to think about that in terms of calibrating our construction sites to see what raw materials, because it's not been too focused on the kind of raw materials that we get. I mean, it has been a little bit. I mean, coal and timber are raw materials that we desperately need. I mean, at some point when the Japanese get their finger out, this is going to be a playground for Japanese kind of colonial kind of games, I suppose, as it already is a little bit. Right, that's it. Military moves done. Economic administration done. Just to keep you in the fold with the Academy of Sciences, I have kind of bumped up some research and development funding, mostly spread across military technology still, because the assumption is, and we have got some industrial technologies, but the assumption is we're probably still lagging a little bit in terms of some military technologies, and we want to try and get every advantage that we can get. I don't think we're as lagging as much as we were in, say, 1850. I definitely think we're catching up, and yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like fighting Austria that we're fighting an army that is much more sophisticated and advanced than we, so we'll see how that goes into it. But we've bumped up, so we're looking at, I mean, we're still sitting on 4 grand, but we're probably sticking out another 150 per fortnight on research and development. So we'll keep an eye on that, because if it starts to go down, we might have to sort of pull some of that research and development money. Right, I'm going to put you on pause, pass turn, and we'll see you on the other side in late Feb. Okay, welcome back. It is late Feb. Turn has been passed, and yeah, some big actions. Let's have a look. So you can already see that the forces coming down from Moldavia. There's a bit of big action at Bucharest. It's set up for a couple of engagements, but the first one is pretty conclusive. They have sizable forces. I mean, that includes support forces. It's 427,000 against a slightly smaller force on our part. We destroy about a core's worth of elements. Now, the good thing here is obviously casualties. You know, casualties can be walking wounded. They can kind of rotate. Casualties doesn't mean dead necessarily. But when entire elements are destroyed, that's encouraging, because these can't just be replaced on the basis of replacements. This is, I think, how we get them. This is the attrition that we want. It's not really casualties, because casualties can be replaced fairly readily. A lot of them are rotated back, subject to sort of access to field hospital units and stuff like that. It's the elements we want to destroy entirely, you know, because these take time to restructure, reorganize. It's not a free lunch. We lose a light cavalry regiment and 36,000 casualties ourselves, but it's a convincing win. 5 national morale points gained, and obviously when that happens as well, we want to keep an eye on their national morale, which is continuously sinking. Their combat power has gone down as well, so happy with that. So first engagement then is the Sofia Relief Force, led from Adrianople by Hussein Avni Pasha, arrives in Sofia. He doesn't seal the deal, but he sort of, like, you know, destroys about half of the kind of rebel force. So far, there's no scripted event that suggests that that's proliferated in any kind of way at all. Hussein Avni is activated now, and hovering over the unit. You can see at the bottom of the black box, SRF is, so that unit is still, the Bulgarian revolt basically is still in Sofia. So we'll set Hussein Avni to engage, offensive posture. What I think we'll do is move. That won't happen. We'll keep the Greek division in place in Petric just for the time being as support, just in case things get out of hand, or there's a kind of sudden changing dynamic there that we need to kind of we need to dampen. A further engagement. Now, this is what's interesting: is Avni Pasha comes down from Pemshara or Banat, and I don't think he was set to an offensive posture. I think he was set to a defensive posture, you know. But anyway, we were really looking to kind of maneuver him to provide support in Bucharest, or at least to close off Drobeta as a kind of retreat. And that seems to have been what happened. So he engaged the retreating. So the retreating Austrian forces obviously badly organised. It looks like their supply is low. And he engages them with a full support of forces from Bucharest. Also, this confluence here allows for support from Ludoria. So he gets support for, you know, like 500, you know, from really sort of 400 plus thousand troops. He says with less than 400,000 troops there. Anyway, he receives some local support and inflicts a further 75,000 casualties with, again, lots of elements. 3 HQ units. That's a core service asset unit, and that's a core for probably core service asset unit for militia. So probably in this context, it's going to be the core service asset unit for these are like conscripts, if you like. So yeah, really good stuff. Plus another service asset unit, plus a whole host of infantry, some artillery as well. It's good stuff. And the remainder of that Austrian force, having over 2 actions lost over 100,000 men in terms of casualties. Yeah, well over 100,000 men. 200,000 casualties, pretty much. The remainder of the Austrian force looks like it's slipped into Belgrade. I'm kind of tempted to actually engage that, from Novi Pazar. There has been a shift on the left, however. The Austrian forces that appeared scattered along the kind of Dalmatian coastline have now concentrated for a move into Sarajevo. And Fuat Pasha, having arrived in Montenegro, is now not activated. It's a 15-day march. I might move him up to Qatar anyway. There's nothing there, and there's nothing to suggest that the Austrians are going to move there with any really significant force. So at least positions him there in Qatar for a relief attempt at Sarajevo. And what I'm thinking of doing is moving the 4th up to Belgrade, which is what? A 4-day march? 5-day march. Because we had the kind of Austrian forces trapped, we occupied the territory to the kind of north of their position in Bucharest. In a really kind of odd way, they've retreated kind of westward. So they've now shifted all the sort of weight to the centre again. 3 days, that's nice, because that gives us support. Alright then, let's move the 6th Army to Augusta and the 1st. Does that get 3 days as well? Nice. Now, Mehmet Ali, out of the two, is the better offensive commander. So I'm going to press Mehmet Ali. We'll set to offensive posture and press him on. 7 days. Not sure if it's worth it. I mean, by then there would have been a 3-day period for this action to have happened, so I don't think that anything's going to come of it. I just... Plus, also, he's actually routing through Niche, which is rather tedious. Two days to Drobeta, and then maybe up to Banat. 11 days. 60% force march chance. 14 days. 4 days. Alright, we're going to keep Avdi Pasha in place then in Drobeta to provide support, both of the sort of confluence of the kind of it's not actually a confluence, it's just a bend, isn't it? Sort of bend of the Danube. Provide support both to Sofia and also the move up to Banat by the 1st. We're going to shift the 6th 3-day march. He gets there a day before. The 4th gets to Belgrade, so we get additional support for the Belgrade move. That means we have basically 3 commands. Theoretically, they can march to the sound of the guns in Belgrade against what should be a fairly depleted and exhausted Austrian force, low on supply. And then we're going to move up the 2nd to Kataro to position ourselves to lift the siege of Sarajevo. And set the Sofia relief force for another engagement to try and clear central Bulgaria of these recalcitrant Bulgarian rebels. Let's have a quick scan around the rest of the empire, make sure that nothing untoward is happening. Excuse me. Okay, I think there's nothing else. We're looking in good shape. That's it. That might be slightly more than half an hour. So, we're in late February. That's the military moves made. I'm going to do economic admin. Just as a quick recap, the economy's in pretty good shape this last turn. Same sort of similar domestic market sales, 1,925. Slight drop off on exports, also slight drop off on imports, but economy stable, growing, and private capital looks stable, as does state revenue from conversion. So that increased research and development funding isn't eating into it. Coal deposits are declining still, albeit at a slower rate. It's late February. I'll pass turn. The next video then will pick up at the beginning of March. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.